Welcome to another CEOism pod with Sean Quincey. He's CEO and co-founder at Simfuni, exited a buy now, pay later startup. And today we're going to talk about insurtech, fintech, insurance premiums, and so forth, payment orchestration. It's going to be fun. This pod is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start your own podcast, monetize it, have fun while doing so, you can go to podpire.com. We do it the unconventional way. Sean, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and about what you're up to nowadays.
Thank you, man. Hey, look, it's awesome to be on the podcast. Look, my name's, as you've said, Sean. I'm from a little country called New Zealand, next to Australia, which is a little bit bigger, but New Zealand does some pretty good things, and we're able to build some cool stuff down here. Look, I'm a payments geek. I love payments. The only thing I love more than payments, I suppose, is building all the different workflows in and around them. I've had a lot of fun sort of building different payment experiences and launching into different markets, and really being able to enjoy watching how payment experiences can transform certain markets. The first one for me was the health and fitness market, putting in installment engines 18 years ago into health and fitness clubs, and then jumped into the world of buy now, pay later. And for any sort of payments geek or entrepreneur, you've watched that sort of market explode and transform retail e-commerce amazingly, and disrupt retail finance as well. And now jump into the world of insurtech and really looking at the world of B2B payments and what that means and how that's different, and the opportunities that are there to unlock, and what some have called a ghost market, and others have called the biggest opportunity, moving forward. So that's me. Recently funded business startup. It's called Simfuni, and got a team of 9 of us, and we're slowly kicking goals.
Let's start with you rowing from New Zealand to Australia. Why did you do it? Tell us the story, the challenges, the near death, and everything in between.
Well, you've done your research, so that's cool, man. Well, look, I'm still the only person in the world to have rowed. I actually went the other way from Australia to New Zealand solo, so that took me 54 days. My dad actually was the first person to row in the other direction, from New Zealand to Australia. And to give you an idea, it's about 1,800 miles. So it is a bit of a gnarly bit of sea, and it's like the Bering Sea. I went backwards 34 out of the 54 days. Crash landed on a beach at the top of New Zealand called 90 Mile Beach. Went round in 9 circles, ended up rowing 2,700 miles instead of the straight line. And I tell you what, it's just like building a startup. It's about being solutions orientated, staying positive, and persevering through all those different challenges. And as you get strained with confidence, can you actually do it? Is it possible? But a gnarly adventure, which I did when I was 23, and just really wanted to emulate what my father had done. But now it's quite cool. He was the first one way, I was the first the other way, and that's kind of something people can't take away from us, which is choice.
So what was the mindset waking up daily? Because at first it must have been scary, but then you got used to it, and then it became a routine around, I don't know, day 15. So what was your day to day?
Yeah, I think some people would call it imposter syndrome. Some people would call it just nerves. You the first, stepped onto the boat the day we were leaving, and gave my now wife a hug and said, "Well, I guess we're just starting," and that's kind of it, right? You've just got to start, and you don't know how it's going to happen, but you've got to have the courage to pull on the oars a few times to get the boat moving, and then it's that momentum and inertia which kind of carries you through. Definitely routine was what got me there. The systemized processes that we were going through every single day was the only thing I could rely on. Everything else was chaos. Very similar to a startup. It's you just have to follow a process, follow a strategy, which for me was getting up as soon as I could wake up, getting enough rest, looking after myself, covering myself in sunblock because there's a big hole in the ozone layer above New Zealand and Australia, and just following that pattern, and that would help me identify when shit was going bad and when I was going a bit crazy. And also when times were good, it would mean we'd go fast, and when times were bad, it would mean that I was holding my ground, and could dig in and just celebrate the success of that routine as opposed to the outcome.
And yeah, obviously wasn't easy. Howling wind, temperatures, sometimes very cold, waves, storms. How did you manage all of that? When did you knew that okay, it was too much adversity and you needed to come in the cabin and stop rowing?
Yeah, I think safety. I was very, even though I've taken a career path of embracing risk and loving risk. I'm actually quite a risk averse person, and I do a lot to understand and analyze and assess what that scenario is I'm in and whether it's bad, good, or ugly. And so you're constantly sitting back, going, okay, well, what's the likelihood of me sort of being hit in the face with a big boat? Yeah, if it's too gnarly, if it's too rough, will I fall overboard? And you're really just having to look around you and see, take the weather forecasts and then just make a decision to set your boat up right or wrong. And man, you get it wrong all the time. Where you'll be sitting in your cabin going, it's not that rough outside, or you'll go, I'm going to keep rowing through the night, and then you just think, holy, it's getting pretty gnarly out here. I don't think I should be doing it. So the honest answer is I didn't know. I didn't have real time feedback. Didn't have real time connectivity in terms of weather forecasting and stuff. So you really, kind of like a startup founder, just have to look around you, assess the room, and make a decision, and then stick with that decision, or give yourself a plan B, C, and D. And that was what we did. If it got really crazy, I just had to quickly have a process to get back into the cabin and lock myself down.
And then how did you transfer that experience in the startup world?
Well, doing an ocean rowing campaign is very much the same in terms of the initial processes of a startup. You sort of got to go and raise a little bit of money. If you're not a rich person, you've got to convince people that you're not going to die, and that you've got what it takes to build a boat and do the work and follow the processes and systems that are going to keep that boat, you, and the business alive. And so applying that to what we have done in the old business, Pay, and what we're doing in Simfuni was really quite easy. Actually, you just had to basically have a plan, build a good team of people that are way better than you at different areas, and get them to make you accountable, and really just start exploring how you're going to do these things. Look for your kind of wedge. What's your first steps? How are you going to get it there? And for me, it was raising a little bit of money to buy a boat, then start building that boat, then start training and start pulling all the different facets in. And as you are, as a startup founder, you're a juggler of many skill sets, and you're a master of a lot of things. And so rowing the Tasman is exactly the same as that. You've got to understand weather, rowing, boat building, navigation, safety, government communications as well, because if people think you're crazy, they won't let you go. Triaging chaos. And so all of those things are applicable, right, the entire time when you're raising capital, when you're talking to VCs, when you're launching live with your first customer, and all sorts of different stuff. It's kind of chaos management, and all those are very transferable.
Then how scary is it to lead a buy now, pay later business with tens, if not hundreds of millions in debt that you loan to people? Do you hope that your risk manager or risk managing algorithm is up to the point? How is that experience? And tell us about your exit in 21.
Yeah, cool, man. So we launched a buy now, pay later business called Pay. It was really similar. That's a very undifferentiated product, but we were very early, which was lucky. So we would allow consumers to get what they need now, pay it off over 10 weeks, and we made our revenue from charging the merchants distributing it. What we went out and raised $1 million in a seed funding round, I think in 2016, to get the wheel spinning. And then, 2017, I'm sorry. So once that all started, it was quite great, because there was one category king who was emerging, an incredible business called Afterpay, and we had thought that we could own our market in New Zealand, and basically potentially put together an exit at some particular time. Within a year, there was like 14 buy now, pay later businesses. So like the category not to enter as a startup founder, as you kind of learn. Fortunately, again, we were fast enough, and we had picked a niche, being the services sector. So we only sold to dentists, vets, the automotive sector, and hair and beauty sector. And so all the other buy now, pay later providers were targeting e-commerce at the time, and rightly or wrongly, we just knew that we couldn't win in that mess, and gone from blue ocean to red ocean almost overnight. And so we persevered in the services sector to lock down buy now, pay later for that particular area. Our competitors were raising tens of millions, 20s of millions, and across a small market like Australia and New Zealand, or even you're looking at 35 million people maximum, and so it's not huge, and so you've got to go fast, and generally you do need to crush to win. And so we locked down that services space across the New Zealand market pretty quickly, pivoted a little bit to launch into Australia. We launched our first e-commerce product over into Australia. Then the market sort of evolved to what we thought would happen, was that, similar to the insurance space now, you had a number of profit pools across the sector. You had hugely large incumbent profitable organizations who had kind of built from the inside out. And we had the opportunity to build from the outside in terms of the customer experience for obtaining retail finance, which was what buy now, pay later was. Max Levchin from PayPal had started an amazing business called Affirm, and I think he had really started to tackle the I guess the higher value buy now, pay later, which was $1,000 above, where there is an interest component, and buy now, pay later was there to really pick up the pieces for anything under $1,000 in terms of transactions. And so, amazing time, really, really fun. And the core problem was, I think you could obtain finance in 30 seconds now, as opposed to an application which was taking, sometimes up to 30 minutes in some retail stores. So that was the shift. And being able to do that off your phone and transact off your phone was this amazing shift that we could see. What that did is it killed deal flow for finance companies, because everyone was taking out their first lending experience with buy now, pay later. And I still believe that is the case. And I still think buy now, pay later is a fantastic first lending experience. Like, I've got an 8 and 9-year-old boy, and I sit back and I go, well, do I want them to get a credit card to start, or will I prefer they learned about credit with buy now, pay later? And buy now, pay later is easily, for me, my preference for that, because there is no compounding interest in terms of the negative impact to that particular person. So going back to our particular journey, it was rock and roll. We had our third board meeting, and we sat around and went, well, do we give the money back? Because this is highly competitive. People have $10 million more in growth capital than us. They're going faster. We can see we probably don't have the opportunity to be the category king unless we raise 100 million, and we couldn't, due to the nature of the competitiveness of the market. There wouldn't be a VC that would do that. And so we doubled down on just content-based inbound conversions. We built some awesome workflows in terms of just like smashing as many services businesses as we could in terms of sales, and getting them on board. We ended up getting 5,000 services businesses on board across Australia and New Zealand. So that, and we locked them down for a long period of time, which ultimately was our value. So all the finance companies across the sector were basically going, wow, how do we get deal flow now? Deal flow's gone. And so that naturally rose. There was an uprising in M&A activity. We made the decision, okay, we're going to need $1 billion of lending money to be able to do this. And so we partnered with a large finance company who ultimately acquired the business and enabled us to compete and become the third largest buy now, pay later across Australia and New Zealand and Singapore in the end. So that was kind of that story. So yeah, man, sorry, I talked a lot. I didn't even talk about the risk appetite and how we manage the money.
How did you manage your money?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no worry. Look, when you're lending, you're going to lose some money. You always are, and it's just like any other business. You got good bad customers, and amazing customers, and ultimately, risk tables are a buyer journey. You make your assessments. You find metrics which provide indications on repayment performance. You have subsets of your total customer base in terms of a population who will perform. You mirror those high-performing customers in your assessment process, and you adjust volumes and values of what you're lending to those particular customers. So a really easy way to say that is you give them a credit score, and you build that credit score over a period of time with data. So that's a really simple way of describing it. And then it gets harder because then you need to integrate with your treasury function, and treasury is what will manage all of your funding and how much cash you're allowed or not allowed based on your ability to present up the performance of that data and your customer populations. So because we were growing so quickly, we did need a couple of $1 billion to be able to figure out, to be able to meet the appetite of the merchants and the retail funds and the consumers. And so we had to do treasury roadshows. We had to go and raise money from banks around the world. We had to sit back and go, cool, this is how our debt performs. This is how our customers perform. They're amazing. This is how much money they make us over time. And it's all just a formula. And obviously that's got to be as accurate as possible. You use that formula and you do your forecasts off that formula, which incorporates losses, performance, and everything. The road to understanding that formula is brutal, and you lose money because you're still learning. And really, it's not until you've gone through like 100,000 transactions that you actually kind of learn where the life cycle is and how those customers perform. And then it changes per merchant and it changes per geographic area. And so it's really time and data that allows you to be a great performing buy now, pay later business.
Curious, as per the exit, is it the kind of business you scale? For example, we talked about that Afterpay business. I've been using it as a customer, been quite pleased by the experience. They have a partner with Amazon, I believe. Are they aiming to be acquired by a big bank? Because that would be certainly at least $1 billion exit, if not 2, if not 5. What is the goal here, or is the goal to just IPO and push to the public markets?
So Afterpay is one of my favorite businesses. I think their story is extraordinary, and they have gone on an amazing ride. They initially listed on the ASX, so the Australian stock market, and during the tech boom 2020, 21, 22. 21, so they shot right up to be worth actually 90 billion. And so that was an amazing valuation, Australian dollars, an incredible story. And then they delisted and were acquired out of that. And so they have been on this amazing roller coaster, but I don't think world domination is, I'm guessing they don't feel that they've done that yet. And so as they're in the US, they're not there without competition. You got Sezzle and there's Zip Money and a few others that are sort of in that same space. I strongly believe Afterpay is still the category king and will continue to be. My thoughts on buy now, pay later, which always plagued me early on, and Afterpay, I'm sure they think about this, is ultimately, is Afterpay a feature or is it a platform? And they would, I don't know, there'd be different arguments all the way, but buy now, pay later is the unit economics are really challenging and directly related to your cost of funds. So if you're borrowing money at 1% and you're providing your buy now, pay later facility at 2%, well, you're okay. There's a bit of margin there. but there's credit card interchange, there's cost of funds, there's all sorts of different things which make it a tough business. So is it a wedge to a future product roadmap to more profitable feature sets, or is it a massive data-driven business for shopping, or what could it be? And I think, if a bank acquired it, well, you'd hope it was an amazing bank with amazing technical people that could execute, which typically large global banks kind of, they're great and they're rich and they're clever, but their ability to build tech really quickly is always compromised. So look, I think the current owners, I think Jack Dorsey bought it from Square. I think something like that. But for me, I think he sees something. Maybe there's a crypto plug and play there. Who knows? Maybe it's a wallet play. Maybe it's a platform. I have no idea, and only they will. But they acquire millions and millions of customers at a low cost. There's good customer utility. Where profit might not be the North Star for that particular organization, but the use of it as a wedge to a further product strategy and the sequencing of that over a period of time, I think we'll see. But I've got a lot of faith, and I would back them all day, every day to do something pretty awesome.
Now, insurance, why InsurTech, and what is your goal with that one?
Cool, man. Insurance, look, I think, one, it is one of the most important things to society's stability, right? We need it, we lean on it, it saves us, and it's incredibly important, and it's far more complex than I ever gave it credit for 3 years ago, really. I think it's an amazing, amazing sector. My initial thesis on entering the insurance sector was I recognized that a number of the workflows surrounding back office, a number of the workflows surrounding payments, supporting insurance organizations and the customer felt awful. You went through them, they felt terrible, they looked overly complex. What the world seemed to have moved on, and insurance seemed to be sitting back. There are many parts of insurance that have evolved really quickly that are highly complex. The risk tables, the assessments, a whole lot of stuff like that is incredible. And there's some amazing AI and there's some amazing things going on. But the 101 basics sometimes seem to have been missed in terms of how they engage customers. When you're distributing, how are they completing a simple e-commerce transaction to make it really affordable? How do you reconcile transactions? And so I saw huge profit pools. I saw massive, massive global incumbents, and I saw a stagnation in the ability to execute on technology rapidly to improve both the internal experiences and external. So that was like the high level, is this a sector I want to look at and my team wants to look at? And that gave us, I guess, the catalyst to go, right, well, where do we want to play in this particular space? And where can we make the biggest impact, and where can we build a global platform for that? And as we raised earlier last year, halfway through last year, because we felt we had found a particular little gap there, and we felt that we had the team to be able to find our initial wedge into that particular space and really start cracking into it. And honestly, man, you have a look at it, and we mapped out and we met with some global distributors of insurance, and you've got two real main ways of distributing. Your indirect and direct. So direct is an insurance brand will sell directly to you, and you can buy online, and you can buy directly from that person your own policy. And indirect, where you've got brokers and agents, where they are kind of doing a bit of the work for you, and you're going to buy through them. So the manual workflows that indirect channel is doing is literally costing billions and billions. It's very fragmented workflows. It's all manual labor. And so what Simfuni does is we've built 13 or 14 customizable workflows in and around back office payments that streamline those processes, remove the manual steps, and we deliver the best customer experience at the lowest operating cost with automation running through. What you can't do with insurance is ignore core platforms and the legacy that's in there, because they're so reliant on it as well. So I guess it's being able to deliver those awesome internal back office experiences combined with the front end experiences with a low code deployment for integrating into those core platforms. And that's what we've doubled down on. That's what we're being paid to do. And so that's where we're sort of heading then.
So who are you targeting and what are your goals for this year in terms of new customers acquired?
Yeah, absolutely. So initially, we're targeting what are called insurance agents and insurance brokers across the Australia and New Zealand market currently. So our targets for them are ultimately, well, really, if you put it down to core sort of OKRs, is we want to have 100 insurance agents and 100 brokers on by the end of first half this year. And so that will give us around about 100 million of what's called GWP, so gross premium running through our platform. So we talk about ourselves as a payments business, but there's also another key metric, which is removing the manual steps. And so every time we onboard a particular broker or a particular agent, we have a minimum that we want to remove 10 manual labor steps from each of those organizations through using our software. And so as we're still kind of arguably in that first phase of nailing down exactly what's the best thing that we do, removing those manual steps for us is kind of the North Star initially, because if we can do that, the ROI is so huge across the sector and that's where they find us most valuable in that process as well.
Right. And how many clients? What's the MRR you're aiming for?
Recurring revenue. So number of clients at the moment, about 45 organizations using the platform, which is pretty cool. Look, by the end of this year, we'd hope we'd hit 3 mil ARR. So still pretty early days. And some of those early customers kind of in the pricing model has shifted around a little bit, but we're heading towards that direction, which is awesome. And we'll be looking to raise capital again at the end of this year, or towards the end of this year, depending on a number of different things. But yeah, man, so it's going good. We're happy. It's always hard. It's always busy, but it's a good time to be alive, and we love insurtech.
Where can we find out more about you, Sean?
More about me, look, Simfuni.com. Definitely take a look at it, play around. Find me on LinkedIn. I love talking insurtech all day, every day. And absolutely, look, if you're a venture capital fund that loves sort of vertical ERPs and insurtech, we'd love to chat.